Welcome in, everyone. This is another edition of the Full-Time Roundup podcast. It is your host, Daniel Brackett, joined alongside me, Harrison Clark. Harrison, we kind of slept on the slate on Thursday's show, but it actually ended up being a pretty good weekend of soccer here. How you feeling? It's a rainy day in Charlotte, so the vibes are lower than they usually are on the Monday.
Yeah, no, the Monday weather, it's a classic dreariness. But yeah, the slate turned out actually pretty nice, like you said. I thought we had some interesting games, some fun games. Um, but really, I think I'm just looking forward to the week that we have coming up because we got a tasty midweek slate.
The Champions League. I mean, looking at all the games and the matchups, some interesting matchups. Yeah,
A lot of games,
a lot of games, an uncomfortable amount of games, to be honest. I mean,
heavy Golasso show.
I think I was going to ask, are you going to be heavy on the Golazo, or are you going to be picking individual games to watch? I think I'm going to probably go with the Golazo. Just too many games right now to focus on. And yeah, we'll have some picks for you at the end of this show as well. So if you are really excited about Champions League, want to have a little action on the game, we'll throw that at the end. So we'll jump into the Premier League, and I'll go ahead and get this out of the way. First game on the docket, Premier League. Liverpool lose at home to Nottingham Forest, and you took -2 on the show. I did not. And I did that on purpose because I just had some innate bad feeling about this game. I was sure it was going to be closer, but I did not expect us to lose. I'll go ahead and say that. I was expecting maybe a 1-0 win or a draw, but yeah, that game was pretty frustrating for me. I didn't enjoy it. The whole team seemed to be off, probably because of international break. Salah specifically dropped an absolute stinker, probably one of the worst games I've seen him play in a long time in the Liverpool shirt. Nuno had a really good game plan. That back five, credit to especially the wing backs, Alex Moreno and Ola Aina on the right side, just absolutely clamped our wingers, and we had no answer. And when we did try to get it out of the wings into the middle of the field, every single time in the final third, it was just a bad pass behind or in front of someone, which is very uncharacteristic of Liverpool, and probably more specific a slot side, because they're usually technically very good. So, I mean, it was one of those throw the game tape out, bury it, and burn it, and kind of move on, because I don't think we're going to get much out of that game from watching it back.
Yeah, they were poor. They were really poor, and it was really the first performance that we've seen under Slot where it's been that lackluster from Liverpool. It is early still. But again, at home, just games you can't lose. You gotta, I mean, and if you don't win, you gotta at least draw it.
Yeah.
The defending on Callum Hudson-Odoi's goal, like, being a Chelsea guy, like, Callum Hudson-Odoi's not going left.
He's a one-trick pony, and that's not me being critical of like Hudson-Odoi. He just does every single goal. If you look at a goal comp of him scoring, whatever his senior goals are for the Premier League, it's a feint, cut into the right, curler, back post. That is his MO. And Connor Bradley, like you said, just absolutely showed him to the middle.
Yeah, no, just really poor. I don't like the management of that, or not knowing exactly what Callum wants to do is really what cost him the game here. Like you mentioned, Salah, every time he got the ball out wide, he wasn't able to create anything with it. And a lot of credit goes to Moreno, like you mentioned, who's been a super serviceable left back for both Villa last year, and he was with Betis before that. And I think he's very underrated. I think Ward-Prowse in the middle is already proving dividends for Forest, the way that he's able to control the ball. And the fact that they brought in Hudson-Odoi and Alanga shows that they have a little bit of depth as well. So, um, yeah, a hell of a performance or a hell of a result for Nuno and the Forest guys. And for Liverpool, I think now it's got to, you know, toss that one away, throw it in the trash, and focus on San Siro this week because obviously that is a massive game.
Yeah, I was furious after losing that game. But you mentioned Hudson-Odoi and Alanga. They sold Brennan Johnson for like 50 to 75 mil and then replaced uh, with those two players for like under 20 million. So, I don't think Nottingham Forest has been known for their good business, but that was really good business. And it seems like after the first year of them surviving in the Premier League, they've have made some really, really good signings. They just had to really just not sign 24 new players in one window for that to happen. So, also just a shout out to them. They're seventh in the table right now, on 8 points, tied with Brighton, who we've talked glowingly about, and 1 point behind Liverpool and 4 points behind City. So they're a good team, obviously. And this
Yeah.
is not the Forest that we've seen before. A lot of people said, Nuno might be on the hot seat starting the year. They just don't see him being a good coach. I think he has proved the doubters wrong so far through 4 games. It's still very early, but, not going to press the panic button because they have been at least a decent team
I
so
think that
far.
I think we saw him have like that early success with Wolves. He just wasn't able to sustain it. I think
Yeah.
it's just a matter of time to see if he's able to do the, half sustainable success with Forest, or if this is just kind of an early glow before it starts to come crashing down again.
Yeah, I think he has a little bit better of a setup here than he did at
For
Wolves in
sure.
terms of talent and, Forest seem like they're willing to spend. So that is the good news to see if he can, continue. And, he keeps signing. He's basically turning Forest into Wolverhampton Wanderers, signing all these Portuguese talents. So, gotta love that. I always think that's pretty funny that he does that wherever he goes. But yeah, no, I mean, I thought his game plan was good and basically ready to move that performance to the rear view mirror. Other results, Manchester City, they beat Brentford after an early scare. Brentford go down and score almost immediately, and then Haaland pulls a Haaland and then scores another brace. So another insane goal tally for Haaland in the Premier League, and he's going to absolutely smash the top goal scorer record probably again here, Harry.
9 goals in 4 games.
Nuts.
What the hell is going on, dude? They actually pulled basically like a. This is very similar to the Ipswich game, just they didn't pummel Brentford the same way they pummeled Ipswich after they allowed the early goal. But again, I mean, it's just like every time he gets the ball in the box, it's a goal. It's unbelievable what he's doing right now. And like you said, I the goal record is very, very, very much in reach.
Yeah, three really bad goals too, by the way, in this game. I mean, Ederson and Ruben Diaz with the mix up. Haaland, the ball just trickled to him on the 6-yard line. He just pummeled it in. And then the third one was an Ederson long ball that Pennick just completely misjudged. Just really bad all around. So it's not like they're scoring worldies right now, but got to defend a little bit better. Ederson, more assists than Antony in his Premier League career. So wanted to throw that in there. Fun fact. But
Gundogan with the start too.
Gundogan with a start as well. So he's just Rodri made his appearance off the bench. So there goes the Premier League title. He's back and healthy. But yeah, no, City just remained to be City. We touched on this Everton game quite a lot in our preview before we saved the best game for last, probably. And Everton pulling Everton again. They go up 2-0 and then throw away a 2-0 lead again. And you might ask, when did they do that? Oh, yeah, that was their last Premier League game. They threw away a 2-0 lead against Bournemouth. They did the same against Aston Villa. Absolutely pathetic. And Ollie Watkins, gets a brace here.
He's back.
Huge for his confidence. I was the lucky bloke not to start Ollie Watkins this week in fantasy. Got killed for it. So that sucks. But talk me through this one, dude. Like what? I mean, it was a worldie from Duran to score the winner, but
dude.
I mean, Everton, what are we doing?
I mean, I really couldn't believe my eyes when they were up 2-0 as quickly as they were. It's 2-0, 27 minutes in. And in the last show, I did give out Everton +1, and I thought it was free at that point. I did say it was maybe the grossest pick I've ever made, and the fact that I even pushed that bet is crazy. And the fact that Everton did it again might be even crazier, blowing the kinds of leads that they are and not picking up points in these games. Like, I mean, what are we now? We are 4 games in, still 0 points. It's stunning. And that goal by Duran, I mean, holy shit. An absolute
with the left foot too.
An absolute bomb from about 30 yards out. He's making me even more and more upset that Chelsea didn't go out and get another striker, because he was on their board. So hell of a win for Villa, obviously massive for them in the long run. That's the kind of game you can't lose. Like we mentioned, Forest beating Liverpool at home, you can't lose to Everton at home. So the fact they were able to pull out 3 points there is crazy. But for Everton, I mean, where do they go from here?
They sit bottom. Worst goal differential, worse than Southampton, Wolves, Ipswich, all of them. Worst goal differential in the entire league. So, that's obviously the first red flag there. The good news is, all the way up to 15th, all of those teams are on 2 points. So, you win a game, you immediately jump out of the relegation zone more than likely. But I mean, I just can't imagine that the confidence level within the squad is very high. You can't close, and I can't imagine what Sean Dyche is even saying in this locker room right now. I mean, you think after the first game, and then you have 2 weeks to ponder on it, and then you go and start domestic football again, and then you do it again. It's probably more of a mental thing at this point.
I mean, is there even a possibility he even gets fired? Like,
yes, I think there's legit possibility at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who they would pull in there, but the fact that they're not able to even pull points from these games with the kind of leads that they have, I feel like part of that is on the manager. That he can't instill a sort of confidence in his players to finish games.
Absolutely, I'm sure you could go and find someone, a relegation coach who just survives basically.
Bring Lampard back.
Tony Pulis is somewhere. He's on a beach somewhere. Take him back. We'll see. But I don't know. It's eventually we'll be talking about Everton saying they got a new coach and they're going to have a new coach bounce.
They could use Carlo Ancelotti again.
They could. But last game in the Premier League that was, I guess it stole the headlines was Arsenal beating Spurs, and Spurs continue worst start in a very long time for Spurs. I think it's a decade. 4 points through 4. It seems like we all we talked about was Arsenal's midfield issues, and it didn't really surmount to anything. Thomas Partey, Jorginho, Havertz, kind of like we guessed, would be the midfield, and Spurs. Guess how they conceded off another corner. Same shit, different story here. They look like they dominated the XG, or not the XG, but the shots and everything. It just, I don't know where I'm not worried for Ange right now, but I'm starting to lean about being worried for Ange.
I mean, for the most part, they had the ball for the majority of the game. I mean, we did mention that it would be interesting to see how Arsenal would line up in the midfield, and you got it right with saying that Havertz would start in the middle, throwing it back to his Leverkusen days with Jorginho and Partey. But, I mean, Tottenham, for the most part, did control this game, and they get 15 shots total, and the inability for them to control a game while also scoring is a problem. It kind of gives me like Chelsea vibes, how Chelsea for a long time, or at least for the last couple of years, have been very, they control the ball the majority of the games that they play against anybody, but they just aren't able to score. And that's kind of the early plot line for Tottenham to start this year, is that they have been controlling most of these games, but just cannot put the ball in the back net, and then they'll concede a stupid goal. So, but a massive win for Arsenal. Like, I think it overshadows, I think, Tottenham's start is the fact that Arsenal went into Tottenham and pulled out 3 points without Rice, without Odegaard, in this sort of rivalry game. I mean, it's got to give the team just another massive boost of confidence.
No, it does. And this was like a make or break if they want to keep pace with City. And they did. Now they have to go play City next weekend. So we'll see how that goes. But, especially your rivals getting any 3 points is a great result. So I'm sure any Arsenal fan, even though it wasn't pretty, is over the moon. And sometimes you just got to win ugly. And I feel like this Arsenal team knows how to win ugly, at least this year, maybe not in past years. And I'm really interested to see if Arteta employs a similar setup that he did last time by just parking the bus against City. I hope he learns from his mistakes. But we'll definitely get to that on the preview. So wanted to kind of go over to the Bundesliga because there were some fantastic results. And I just wanted to first give a moment in silence for, I think you pronounce it, Kiel, Holstein Kiel. They lose 6-1 at home to Bayern. So just a quick 3-minute moment of silence for them. All right, we're back. So
you said 3-minute moment of silence.
3 seconds. Sorry, 3 seconds.
Holy cow.
So, game starts, and off the kickoff, a long ball bops around, and then you just see Musiala just trot into the box and just put it away under 15 seconds. And you're like, oh, no, this is going to be one of those Bayern games. And then Kane follows up in the 7th minute, and there's an own goal in the 13th minute. So it's 3-0 in the first 15 minutes of the game. And it was some of the worst goals I've ever watched be conceded. I mean, we're talking bad defending, bad giveaways. I mean, just really, really poor stuff. And so, I was actually appalled, Harrison. I couldn't believe how bad some of these goal concessions were. And so I'm not going to overreact to this as in a thing with Bayern. I think Bayern are still the same Bayern I saw last week. We'll have to see how they play in the Champions League. But I will say one good thing. Kane got to boost his numbers with a hat trick. And he started the season kind of slow. So I'm sure, Bayern, company, and the entire Bavarian, region is very pleased with Harry Kane getting on the score sheet.
Yeah, I mean, a hat trick in this game, and he got a couple over the international break with England. So he all of a sudden he's in a pretty good goal scoring form. Like you mentioned, though, I mean, Holstein Kiel, or wherever the hell this team is, they could just as quickly as they came up. It looks like they could be going right back down.
Absolutely.
This was just an absolute dominant performance. Again, I'll give my flowers to Company. He's got this team 3-0 at least to start. As long as you haven't dropped points, and you haven't really done anything wrong, in my opinion. So we'll see if they're able to keep this up. But again, I think just the big story is that this Holstein Kiel team could be absolutely horrible in the Bundesliga, and these teams need to take advantage every time they play them.
Absolute bye week every single week as a look ahead. Bayer Leverkusen also went emphatically against Hoffenheim. They look like they've cleaned up the defensive side, which is good. We mentioned that on the last podcast. And then it seemed like finally Dortmund on Friday kind of clicked into gear. I don't think you can understate how important that win was for them. Heidenheim last year, they gave up that game and lost that game to Heidenheim. we're also talking about a Heidenheim team that's in fourth place right now after losing their entire team and has European football. So I retweeted something the other day about their coach brought them all the way up from the 5th division to here. And then they, made Champions League and sold everyone. So, even though they lost today, I think that's like honestly a really good story that I honestly missed in terms of I didn't realize they kind of went all the way up the football pyramid in Germany. But we saw a couple things in this Dortmund game. We saw Garassi start up top, and this team has been wanting a big striker up top for a while, and it finally starting to click with him. Karim Adeyemi, he's been hot and cold for the last 2 seasons, but he absolutely flashed with 2 goals and an assist. And Malen and Brandt looked, up to par. Complete midfield revamp with Pascal Gross and Nemecha starting. No more Emre Can, no more Oz Can. Thank goodness. And no more Sabitzer. So I like the look of this Dortmund team a lot more than I did 6 months ago. I was very critical of them as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think Garassi changes a lot of what they want to do. Like, you got to have a true number 9 in there, and obviously while he's been injured, they've been trying to replace him with almost playing a false 9 kind of deal, with almost playing Brandt up top and playing that more possessive based kind of game and trying to play through these defenses instead of having that kind of body like Garassi, who obviously had an unbelievable season with Stuttgart last year. Getting him in there is critical for this Dortmund team. Is going to be massive for them both in the Bundesliga and the Champions League. Like you mentioned, hell of a start so far though for Heidenheim.
Yeah,
really, I honestly I don't pay that much attention to their team, but the fact that Frank Schmidt is his name, has this squad with all these players playing this well early in the season, and kind of a crazy Bundesliga where you never know how any game's going to go with the amount of goals they score is impressive. But I do like this Dortmund team, especially with Garassi in there. Like you mentioned, they haven't really had a true number 9, especially because Haller had the issues he had. So having a true 9 changes a lot for Dortmund. Plus, you can have Gittins come off the bench, who is a very good super sub if need be. So, I like this Dortmund team a lot.
Yeah, they have the depth this year, and they have the youngsters. So completely roster overhaul that they did this summer. And Nuri Sahin seems like he's fitting the bill so far. We'll see against better opponents in terms of like the Champions League how he measures up. But I am bullish on Dortmund's future. Mm-hmm. Just to name a few players that they did lose for Heidenheim, John Nicholas Best, probably their best player, went to Benfica over the summer, sold for $8 million. Thank you. And Tim Kleindice, who we've mentioned in Gladbach, was sold for basically pennies on the dollars, and they signed basically nobody. So always a sucker for a good story. Now, in terms of the table, we have Bayern in sole position of first with 9 points. Dortmund, Leipzig on 7 points. Heidenheim and Leverkusen and Frankfurt and Freiburg on 6 points. How are we feeling about the top 4 here?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of so far, really, besides, I guess, Heidenheim, like you mentioned, like I guess really at this point, I didn't see them in fourth. But, in terms of the other teams, I would say that going into the year, I thought Bayern would find a way to get back to the top of the table. Obviously, they've captured 9 from 9, which is a very good start for them. Have they really played anybody yet? Not really. So it's hard to determine exactly where they are. Dortmund, Leipzig, 7-7. I mean, again, we just mentioned Dortmund. I like their team a lot. Leipzig, always kind of a top 4 kind of team. I don't think they're ever really, at least not recently, going to be title contenders, in my opinion. And we're just kind of still waiting on Leverkusen, who obviously is tied for 4th. They have 6 points, so it's not like they're far behind. And obviously the season just started. But I expect Bayern and Leverkusen to still finish top 2, whether it's Bayern, Leverkusen, or the other way around. I think that, Xabi Alonso obviously is an amazing manager. He's going to find a way to get his team into gear, and I think this week was a good start to that in terms of cleaning it up defensively. And then Bayern just has too much talent to not finish top 2. So that's how I expected to finish out. But to start the year, I think I'm most impressed with just Bayern's start. The fact
Ye-
that they've taken 9 from 9 with a new manager.
Yeah, they haven't really played anyone like you mentioned, but I will say on September 28th, starts a 5-game stretch here that's pretty tough. They go and play Leverkusen, Villa, Frankfurt, Stuttgart, and then Barcelona. 5 in a row.
Gauntlet.
That is an absolute gauntlet. So we'll check in after that gauntlet's done to see if Bayern's still the pool favorite.
Still early. Still early.
Still very early. But I just was curious to see if your tone's changed.
They probably will after that.
Yeah, no, seriously. Going to La Liga, some good results around the table. As I predicted, Barcelona handled business against Girona, 4-1 emphatic win. Lamine Yamal scoring a brace. The kid is the best youngster on planet Earth right now, and he's next up. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I think that's not a hot take anymore. I feel like last year it was a hot take saying he's better than Florian Wirtz, Musiala, Bellingham, insert any other name. But we're talking about a kid who is insanely good here. And, obviously Barcelona are still winning games and they just keep getting more and more injured. Will that catch up with them? I'm not sure. Danny Olmo out for a couple weeks. Frankie de Jong still out, but Pedri and Lewandowski, Lamal. I mean, Lamal gets hurt, they're cooked. But Barcelona looked really good in this game, and they're back to playing some of the most beautiful football I've seen in years.
Yeah, they scored some gorgeous goals in this game. And the fact that they were able to score 4 without Lua getting on the board just speaks volumes to the kind of talent that this team has. It sucks for Dani Olmo because the way he has started in a Barcelona uniform has been so impressive. But I just thought that they scored some beautiful goals in this game. And frankly, I thought Girona would give them fits, and they proved me completely wrong. 15 points in the first 5 games. I mean, this team has come out of the gate absolutely flying. And, we said before the year that we felt like, especially with the addition of Mbappe, that this would be a runaway for Madrid. Dude, I no longer have that sort of feeling because this kind of Barcelona team and the way that Hansi Flick has them playing, I mean, I all of a sudden have changed the narrative very much. And I can very well see this coming down to the last week of the season with this kind of Barcelona team. They just got to stay healthy.
With every game that I watch of Real Madrid, I that Barcelona La Liga winner future. It's at like 2.5 to 1 right now.
Dude.
So obviously Vegas still favors Real Madrid, but kind of pivoting to the Madrid game against Real Sociedad at San Sebastian. I mean, God, it was unbelievable how Real Sociedad lost that game 2-0. Actually unbelievable. They hit the crossbar of the post not once, not twice, but 3 times before I think Real Madrid even registered a shot. I mean, it was unbelievable. It was just not their day. And of course, Real Madrid get a pretty soft handball penalty and then another really weird penalty. Not saying that they weren't penalties. I'm just saying 2 really soft ones to give up. Vinny and Mbappe respectively buried their own PKs. I like how they're alternating now to keep the locker room happy. But again, completely outplayed, but no effort for the other team on the other side.
I just have no confidence watching Madrid right now. I mean, again, there's growing pains. I know it's early, but dude, watching Real Madrid play right now, I have zero confidence in them actually winning the game. And they scored 2 penalties in this game is what did it for them. But like you mentioned, 3 posts,
1 crossbar.
I mean, Sociedad had expected goals over 1. Like you'd think that they at least would sneak 1 in here, but I just the contrasting nature of Barcelona and Madrid is very telling right now. Like it's hard to watch Madrid kind of right now with the way that they're playing, and Barcelona looks so fluid. I don't know. It's gonna be weird to see if Real can figure this out, but it's not great right now.
No, it's not. Also wanted to give a shout out to Sukic. He was the Salzburg defensive midfielder. Completely missed the part where he went across to the Basque region to play for Real Sociedad. Started this game next to Zubin Mendy. So probably his successor once Liverpool snap him up or some other team. I thought he flashed in this game 100%. Set up I think he set up the one that went off the post in the one of them. There were so many of them, it's hard to keep count. But
Rodrigo coming off the bench too.
Rodrigo, yeah. So I like this Real Sociedad team. I definitely think the score was not indicative of the result, and Real Sociedad and Athletic Bilbao can definitely challenge for that top 4 spot here, because Atletico Madrid, Real Madrid, and Barcelona all are kind of rolling right now. Atletico Madrid winning 3-0 against a lowly Valencia. Conor Gallagher putting on absolute show here. He looks great, and I'm really excited to see him in the Champions League because I feel like all these Chelsea youngsters get done so dirty at their parent club, and then they'll go and shine somewhere else, which is sad.
I mean, we gotta be honest though. Chelsea does just breed talent. Like Cobham is just where youngsters are made. So
yeah,
he is a Simeone, just perfect kind of player. Just he has the ability to stir it up in the middle. He's shown at Chelsea that he can score, and obviously he scored this week. Valencia suck.
Really bad. Other than Javi Guerrera in the midfield, that guy's Rolls Royce in the projects. I mean, he will not be a Valencia player very, very soon.
Dude, I actually like Atletico's defense a lot. Like Lenormand had an unbelievable Euros. Jimenez has been a stalwart forever, and Azpilicueta is just very experienced and knows how to play his position very well. As a whole, all around, this Atletico Madrid team is very solid, and they got the right kind of guy coaching them, in my opinion.
Well, yeah. So you need Steele in the midfield to replace Koke and Sal Niguez and all those guys, and you go sign Conor Gallagher. Mm-hmm. Then your defensive shape was the worst thing, probably the worst it's ever been under Simeone last year. And you go and sign Lenormand, and then
stalwart,
and then you know that Griezmann, his years are numbered, and he's probably going to leave in January or at the end of the year. And you go sign Sorloth and Julian Alvarez. I mean that. You can't ask for a better transfer window in that thing. You still have Joaquin Correa off the bench, and then you have all these guys who Simeone can just get some games out. You got Longley, Witzel on the bench. They have a really solid team this year. So
yeah, I mean Witzel's experience, but God, that guy is slow. He's obviously changed positions now. He used to be the center mid, now he's the center back. But when I was watching them play Villarreal first game of the year, my man Axel Witzel was getting absolutely cooked. So I think Simeone should stay away from him. But good bit of business in this past transfer window for sure. They've cleaned up a lot of areas and also prepared for guys to depart.
Yep. And to go to the Serie A, we talked about Milan legacy game. Fonseca hot seat. They go and they beat the crap out of Valencia. I think every single goal was scored before the 30th minute, 4-0. No questions asked. Another team that decides
cooking.
Pulisic, dude, 4 goals.
I mean, he is cooking right now.
He's the best player on AC Milan right now. I'm not even afraid of saying that. And he takes a penalty. Rafael wants Tammy Abraham to open his account with AC Milan, so they give it to him, which is just a great teammate move.
How about that Chelsea 3 they got running in there? Pulisic, Loftus-Cheek, and Tammy Abraham. That's goodness. Crazy. Good. I mean, you pull 3 guys together who all speak English, all played on Chelsea. I mean, I think that's a good part of or good bit of business that they're doing, having those three in there, and the kind of chemistry that they had from before.
Not even to mention Tomori in the back line
Yeah,
is
I mean,
another
just a
Chelsea
bunch of,
connection.
and there's rumors that they're trying to bring in Carney Chukwuemeka too. I mean, just
Really?
load up on Chelsea rejects.
I don't think they need any more midfielders from looking at this list, but they did
Probably
sign.
not.
They signed Youssef Fofana. He got a goal. He was from Monaco. Rangers, I like his game a lot. And then RLC just is an absolute
He's a
workhorse.
beast.
And he's just like, he's built for the English game where he can just body anyone. And he just like, he's like, I feel like he's just unstoppable in that kind of league where it's a little bit less physical in the Serie A. He's just a man amongst boys.
Dude, I always loved RLC at Chelsea. I thought he was an absolute animal. And when he tore his Achilles or his ACL playing in that stupid off-season game against the New England Revolution in America, I wanted to kill myself because he was just starting to find it.
Yeah.
And that set him back a ton, and he was never able to really get into the team. And then obviously he goes to Milan and he's found his game again. So I'm super, super happy for him. I've always been a big fan of him.
Yeah, and you see Morata came back, got 25 minutes or so. Musa, not really bullish on him in terms of just he's going to have to share game time with a lot of good players. So that's a U.S. national team bias kind of working its way in there. But I thought it would at least be good to shout out. Now, in terms, you mentioned RLC, or I actually mentioned RLC in terms of like a man against boys. Well, Napoli's kind of copying this because they brought Scott McTominay, Romelu Lukaku, and then they brought in Billy Gilmore. So, I mean, Billy Gilmore is a small, but I mean, like 3 or 4 Premier League made players and kind of threw them into the Serie A. And Napoli go and win 4-0. Lukaku with a goal and 2 assists. Osimhen, who don't need him. Kvaratskhelia and Lukaku are absolutely on the same page here. And I am very, very bullish on Napoli. By the way, Udinese is leading this league, by the way. Leading. Napoli is second with 9 points. And that first game, Napoli lost, and we were smashing the panic button big time. And then they went shopping, and we're back to where your take was at the start of the season where you loved Antonio Conte. We're going to blame that take all on me in terms of hitting the panic button week 1. I think that was still a great take by you.
Thank you. He had to get some familiarity, I think, in there. Obviously, he knows a bunch of the English guys who are coming in. But, when they're starting the year with nobody up top, it's going to be tough to have some success.
Yeah.
And then, Kavica got hurt also. That didn't help the cause. So I think now that they got Lukaku in there and they got him with good players around him, I mean, dude, like you mentioned, the talent coming off the bench is very solid, I think, right now for Napoli. You got Gilmore, you got McTominay, and you also have David Neres, was very good.
Yeah.
So I've said it. I like Napoli, and I've always liked Conte's style of play. I think that, that kind of style and play in Italy, especially, it plays very well.
Yeah. Speaking of Udinese, they tied Bologna, beat Lazio, beat Como, and then beat Parma. So we're not going to act like they haven't played anyone, but we're also talking about a Parma side that tied Fiorentina, beat Atalanta, beat AC Milan, and then barely lost to Napoli. So this is still a good side. They got Florian Thauvin, if you remember him from Newcastle and Marseille back in the day. But other than that, don't really recognize a single guy on this roster. So, I think that's just an interesting story. Oh, they're also owned by Watford's owners. So it's like one of those feeder clubs. So they got a bunch of Watford championship players who they transferred over.
Do you know Alexis Sanchez on this team?
Oh my God, he is. He's hurt. Well, that's cool. But yeah,
he hasn't played a game this year, but
he hasn't.
Actually, he hasn't played a game this year.
But interesting story. Another, interesting result. Inter tied AC Monza. So they haven't had, 8 points in 4 games. Not great. Not on the scale of what Inter was last year. So maybe a Napoli or another team can kind of challenge them. But for right now, it's still their league for me. How about you?
Yeah, I'm kind of there. I mean, I think it's just a slow start, in my opinion. I think that they still have all the talent in the world to win the league. Obviously, it's not ideal to tie Monza, a team who is just honestly, I mean, isn't going to be competitive this year. So, not the kind of result that you want. Um, I'm honestly, I want to talk about Atalanta because I think Atalanta
Would love to.
are just such an exciting team to watch. Dude, I love Ademola Lookman.
Yeah,
He is so sick.
he had a really nice assist
Dude,
too.
that assist was disgusting.
Yeah,
Taps it around the guy, runs past him, cuts into his right, and then just hits a absolute curving line drive just over the center back, right onto the head of is it Retegui? Is that who scored
yeah,
that goal?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's electrifying.
And he showed
And
it in that Conference League final.
he'll go. I
Or
mean,
Europa final, excuse
Atalanta will
me.
go. Atalanta will go as far, I think, as he does because he is that kind of talent.
Yeah, and you have Larry on the other side. One goal to us. One goal, one assist. Retegui has hit the ground running, and then you start those guys and you bring a Pasalic off the bench. They even got Zaniolo and Quadrado. Just in Scamacca is not even.
I mean, he's out long term.
Scamacca is out long term, but Scalvini is out long term as well. Those are two of their best players.
They
So
just got to find consistency. I
they
mean,
do.
2 wins and 2 losses to start. Like you gotta clean that up and at least find points instead of those losses.
Yeah, and they signed some guys. They signed Cosanu on loan, who I liked a lot from Bayer Leverkusen. I think he's going to be a big player. Um, I think that it'll take a second to
Quadrado.
gel. I mean, all these guys are just like regions and like old guys who were really popular and then just kind of fell off. So Gasperini, I think, is going to get these Bulls rolling. They're still, they're still within distance. They're on 6 points, and Udinese has 10. So plenty of time to climb up the table, and they are probably one of the funnest watches out there. So excited to watch them in Champions League this year. Speaking of Champions League, let's go ahead and jump right into it. We're at 42 minutes, so might as well talk a little UCL footy here. Tomorrow it starts. We got some 12:45 games. We got some 3 o'clock games. I would say the headliner is, and this is not bias, Milan versus Liverpool at Milan. I think that probably is the most intriguing game. Are you worried about that, or should I be worried about that?
I don't know.
I'm
Like
personally not.
I don't think you should be worried because I don't think Milan has proven that they can put 2 games together yet. So you have that going for you. As long as Liverpool's not still rattled about Forest, then and Slot's got them in a good headspace. I think that you guys very well can win that game. But again, it's two absolute monsters of the sport going at it. So it should be just a fun watch in general. Do I expect a lot of goals in this game? Not really. Like I kind of think it will be low scoring, and then it'll either finish 1-0 or 1-1 in my opinion. I think that it still will be tightly contested, but in terms of Liverpool, I don't see a loss here. I think that they'll pull out either a draw or a small win.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I don't think it'll be a blowout. I definitely would not say that. The game that no one's gonna watch, but might be a really sneaky, interesting game, is the Sporting Lisbon Lille game.
Dude, yes.
I feel like that'll be a really fun game. I want to see Gyökeres kind of ball out here. Real Madrid should not look past Stuttgart by any stretch of the imagination. I think that's going to be a lot closer than people give it credit for. Bayern Munich is going to blow the doors off of Dynamo Zagreb, unfortunately. I think Aston Villa, Young Boys, and Juventus PSV could also be fairly close.
Yeah. I mean,
You'd expect Aston Villa to win that game, but we saw last year Young Boys was a tough ask away from home.
Yeah, I'm kind of already rolling through the games thinking about like what I expect to see. if you point out to me this Aston Villa Young Boys game, like, yeah, I like goals. I like goals in Switzerland. So
It's gonna be fun. They play on that turf pitch, which
no,
is
yeah,
weird.
I expect Nico Cantor to be active on the Golasso show in Switzerland early,
Yeah.
12:45 tomorrow. But like Juventus PSV, two teams that have had very good starts this season. I think that'll be super close. Very well could see either side pulling a result in that game.
It's a big measuring stick for PSV, in my opinion.
It is, especially on the road.
Yeah. And then on Wednesday, the slate's, I think, in my opinion, awful.
Yeah,
You have,
great.
if gun to your head, would you rather watch Bologna, Shakhtar Donetsk, Celtic, Slaven, Bratislava, or Sparta Prague, Salzburg?
Gun to my head, I'd probably choose Prague and Salzburg.
I would too. Absolute fireworks from Salzburg. I think they're actually a really fun watch. I hate that I included them in the other two, but we will not.
If you ask me just the other two, I really don't know if I could pick.
It's horrible. It's horrible, but you would expect Dortmund to take care of business against Bruges.
Mm-hmm.
I think this City Inter game is going to be as tight as it can be. Champions League final replay here at the Etihad. I think that's going to be a really tight game. And then PSV Girona, I'm thinking sparks could fly in that one as well. I think that could be fun.
Yeah, I mean, again, if I'm scouting ahead, looking at games like PSG Girona defensively not good,
Very
not
bad,
good at all,
very bad.
With the way that Barcola's been going early this season, the kind of weapons that PSG had going forward, I think that they've almost felt like they don't have to feed Mbappe so much. That almost probably is like a relief off of their shoulders, and they can kind of play whatever football they want to play. I've actually really enjoyed, the kind of start that PSG has had to the season. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be a serious Champions League threat, but obviously in Ligue 1, like, it shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
That City Inter game, like you mentioned, I think it's going to be a slugfest. Just two brutes going at it, and whoever's standing at the end. Like
I'm not going to enjoy watching that one. Let me just
it should be just kind of I don't want to say it's going to be a snooze fest, but like
cagey.
It's gonna yeah.
And then in terms of, oh my god, I didn't know Champions League was on Thursday as well.
It's
I thought that was
it's so wild, like going to look at groups, and now we just have like a list of like 38 teams. Like it's so weird, but also I think it'll be fun for the viewer.
It will. Feyenoord, Bayer Leverkusen. I think that game's going to be a whole lot of fun. I think Bayer Leverkusen should win that. Atletico Madrid, RB Leipzig. That game, I have no idea how that's going to go. I think Arsenal are in for a little surprise here against Atalanta and Bergamo, personally. And then I think Barcelona should handle business against Monaco.
Yeah, I love the Leverkusen game. I think that'll be fun. That atmosphere always is great at Feyenoord, and especially for these big games, it should be a great watch. Atalanta Arsenal. I mean, dude, like, we know that Atalanta shows up for these big games. Arsenal's it's not gonna be an easy game for Arsenal whatsoever. Madrid, Leipzig. I mean, I don't know. Like, I have no idea.
I'm intrigued, but
I'm very intrigued. I just have no idea, like, side-wise, who I would take in that game. And Barcelona should roll Monaco.
Yeah, I mean, Dani Olmo injury obviously maybe throws things into doubt, but I'm sure they're going to find some other, La Masia Academy kid to go in and just absolutely shine. So great games. We do have a few picks. So let's go ahead and kind of go over those right now, Harry. Would you like me to start?
Go ahead.
I'm going to go starting with my heart here. I'm going to pick Liverpool money line on the road, -110.
Good value.
I like the number. It's good value. And I just simply think this Liverpool side is just a lot better than than AC Milan, unfortunately. Going to the next day, I have the the Bayer Leverkusen Feyenoord over 3. I have Barcelona Monaco over 3. I lean Barcelona money line. That might be a late play for me. I'll have to see the lineup before I put a financial interest on that game, but I like those, and those are it so far. I might chime in at the end.
Yeah, I mean, I have Lisbon tomorrow money line against Lille at home, minus
Ooh, I like that.
155. Just in great form and a problem at home. Young Boys Villa over 3.
Like that a lot.
Yeah, that just Young Boys in the Champions League. I mean, you just expect balls to find the back of the net. Let's go with
Boys
Fire.
and balls in the back of the net. Wow, what a quote!
Pause. Feyenoord Leverkusen over 3 as well. I might play the plus money and play City enter under 2.5. I'm not sure yet. I just can't see a different kind of result where this isn't just super close and it's like a 1-0 or 2-0 game. So I'm probably going to play the under 2.5. Dortmund money line on the road against Bruges plus 100. Again, like we mentioned, a different team with the number 9. And I'll play Barcelona money line at like minus 130.
Wait, what was the one before that? Before Barcelona money line?
Dortmund money line.
Oh, you like Dortmund against
Bruges?
What's the odds?
100 plus 100.
Really?
Could be walking straight into it.
I'm taking the rat poison probably.
I mean, dude, I think I might have to. You can't tell me that.
Yeah, it's concerning.
I'm done with the Jupiler League. Don't come to me with that.
Yeah, I don't know about that line. I forgot I took Bayern Munich over 3.5 against Zagreb. I think what we saw at Kiel could be very similar here in the Bavarian country. So I'm going to take – those are my overs. I like a lot of yours. I mean, as a guy who does like to put an occasional wager on soccer, seeing 30 games midweek is
I mean, dude, it's
uber concerning. But I think it's going to be really fun, dude. I'm excited to kind of break it down with you on Thursday. We're going to have another preview episode for the Premier League fantasy best bets on, out Thursday night, more than likely. So, be expecting that. We'll probably talk a little Champions League, what we learned, what we liked, what we didn't like. So thank you for sticking around. We should have a good time here, and see you next week.